Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Punch it, Chewy! Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody.
I'm still trying to sit in my head. You Han Solo and me, Chewbacca, and I'm like, yeah, but you got more hair than I do.
It's a tough one. I get it.
Yeah. We could do Pinky in the Brain. That would be easy.
Let's do that. There we go.
Would it? Okay,
Narf.
so which one? Okay, all right, yeah. Sure. No, because I am not the brain.
Yes, you are.
No, definitely not.
Oh, well, anyway, the guest that we have coming on tonight, I believe we've never had on the show. So it'll be his first time, if I'm not mistaken. Am I wrong in that?
You say that, and no, I believe you're correct, but I want people to understand why that's a thing, because we have a lot of guests that have never been on the show.
It's
But
true.
this is a
That's
guy
true.
that I would say the majority of our friends listening are going to be like, oh my God, yeah, I know that guy. So yeah, but it's his first time actually on the podcast.
I know, which is going to make it difficult, I feel like, in some ways, to pull something out that no one knows about them. Like we did with Jeffrey, because that was
Mhm.
awesome to find out his nerd background in all things Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's much quieter though than our guest tonight for sure. Less
Yes.
obvious.
Yes, this man will come with a thunder.
Now that I think about it, for purposes of our guest tonight, him and I, definitely I'm the brain. Absolutely. You can tell him I said that.
Oh boy.
You don't let your little brother get away with crap, and he's definitely my little brother.
There you go.
So,
That's awesome. And that's what's gonna make it even more fun too, is just that whole dynamic of everything. But before we get into our guest, just kind of wanted to chat a little bit. How are things going with you? And we are now within 60 days of HomeDadCon. So how's the excitement hitting you?
excitement is maintained. I am really not ready. There's so many things I need to do before I'm ready for this, for the trip, for the drive, for the convention, for my keynote, all that stuff. So the more I talk, the more I talk to people that are going, the more the members that I talk to are like, yeah, my friends, everything, people that I know. And there's so much excitement, it seems like, this year, that it is being that people are broadcasting to me, as opposed to me being the guy that's, the big dumb golden retriever in your living room knocking stuff off the coffee table here. It's everybody else is so excited, just excited as I am. So
Yeah.
and a lot of new people, a lot of people that have never been. We've got a lot of new members, which is always exciting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and we've got a lot of things going on this year, both at the actual convention, like during the program hours, and then after hours and before the convention and everything else. And I don't know if we want to talk about board nominees, but we're going to have to at some point. But
We
that's
definitely,
also
yeah.
really exciting. Yeah.
Well, then we got what? I mean, is it 6 or 7 this year that are 7? We have 7 nominees running for 3 board positions. It's gonna get cutthroat, everybody. No, that'll be good. That'll be good. Yeah. So we'll have them on. We'll have a thing set up where everybody will get to hear from them and hear about them and why it is that you should vote for them and that thing. So that was like what we did last year too. So we'll have another episode like that coming up once we get everybody collected, because that's the part that takes time right there, and editing it down. Yep. Which is my job.
And just 7 people, even if each person only has 10 minutes to tell you, all about their life. Yeah, we ain't got that much time tonight. You guys got to cut it back to 5. What can you tell me in 5 minutes?
We might have to it'll probably end up being like a two-parter for the most. I would say it's probably going to end up being some sort of two-part. Now the other thing I thought about too, as far as episodes go, that we need to work on, and I imagine that a lot of newer listeners, especially new HomeDadCon attendees who listen to the show, would be a sort of packing list / how do I set my spouse, significant other, partner up for success while I am away? Because we all know that when we go away, more times than not, our lovely second in command, red winning person, however you want to put them, I don't know. There's this things that partner. Yeah. There's this things that they don't know where they are, i.e. toilet paper. I feel like every year there's somebody who says, I got a text message that said, where's the toilet paper in the house? Where do you keep that? So, but I think that a definite episode where we kind of go through the hows and do's and what's of getting prepped to step away for a few days is definitely necessary.
Yep. There's just so much. And even if it's not, not your basic, hey, you know what you were going to pack. And, okay, I'm going to pack, shirts and socks and all that stuff. There's a lot of little things about it. And then what to expect when you get there, especially if you are a first timer, the things that we have set up for first timers specifically so that we can kind of guide you into it. And it cannot be stressed enough. Anyone that's going to the convention, you need to get your room. And by now you need to just find a roommate because they're almost all gone. So,
I'm pretty sure they're all gone, actually, from what I understand. If I'm correct, in the message that I saw from one Mr. Keith Nagel the other day was that the final room was purchased. So yeah, definitely roommate. Get one.
Yep. Time for a roommate.
Yep. They're out there.
If there are open rooms, you can still get a room, but it won't be at our convention rate.
Yep.
And I think that's something to note, because if you go through the website, you can still get a room, but you're going to have to pay the full price.
Yeah. Which, if I'm not mistaken, if I looked the other day at that, was like just over $300, I think, a night. So yeah, it's a major difference. So yeah, if you can find a roommate, you're better off for it, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all that's going on there. I'm excited that we're going to have another speaker guest on tonight. Like we've been saying, this is somebody that everybody knows. And but at the same time, we're going to find something out that nobody knows about this person. We're going to figure it out somehow, some way. We'll find out. He's got big Texas secrets, but we'll figure it out. We'll be right back after this short message. Become a member of the National At-Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support, connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At-Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today. Hey everybody, welcome back. like we were saying, we have a very special guest with us tonight. We have the one, the only Jeremy Haston with us, and very excited to speak with him about what he's going to be talking about at HomeDadCon, but also too, it's just fun to catch up with Jeremy and talk about life and what's, all those kind of things. So Jeremy, welcome to the show, man.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Doing well, man.
Chilling like a villain. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
We were saying before the break, I want to just clarify something. If it was you and me, Jeremy, in a room and we were Pinky in the brain, which one of us would be the brain? Yeah. See, he said me.
Did he? His audio's still going out, so
Maybe his audio came out, but I'm sure he said me.
I did say you.
Oh, did you really?
Well, you're my big brother, so of course.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think Pinky might absolutely be the older one.
Maybe.
Brain's just an annoying little brother kind of feel.
You think the brain is the little brother?
Yeah, see, I don't know that I agree with that, Dan.
I don't agree with that at all.
That's all right. Y'all can be wrong. I don't mind.
Brain is definitely like the older one, and then Pinky is the younger one, but it's like there's like a 10-year difference, like a 10-year gap. So you get that sort of like, I know everything from the older one, and then from the younger one, you're getting the like, well, he's just dumb, and although he's actually really smart in his own way, so he can outsmart Brain in many ways, but Pinky doesn't see it. That's just me though.
I think I have to agree with Brock on that one. I think that I'm the second oldest of 9, and my younger brothers are definitely Pinky.
Do they know this?
Well, I don't think we've ever actually used that analogy as a family, so probably not. They probably, I don't know. I think they know that I'm wiser than they are. That's why they ask me for advice on stuff, which is a bad idea, but they do anyway.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like, so you have 9 siblings. Okay. So this is something 8 siblings. This is something I didn't know about you, I guess. I didn't realize that you came from that big of a family. So where are you the oldest then?
I'm the second oldest.
You're the second oldest. What's the youngest? What's like age-wise?
Kentar is 23.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I will be 41 in 2 weeks.
Okay. Wow, man.
That's a spread.
That is a spread.
She's a stepsister, so that's part of why.
Okay. But still though, to have that many siblings, like that's a lot of sibling rivalry and things in a house. What was that like growing up with that many around you?
Well, I was a big wrestling fan, so there was a lot of wrestling going on.
Yes. The figure 4.
Actually developed some of my own submission moves that I've still never seen anybody in wrestling use.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your favorite wrestler from the days of childhood? Because it's different. It can be different from now, but childhood, like who was your guy?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, it had to be Hogan.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the Attitude Era that I guess I switched over to like Steve Austin. But that was everybody's favorite.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, brother.
Now it's a guy named Keith Lee who wrestles for a program called AEW, or All Elite Wrestling. And he is just fantastic. He went to college at Texas A&M, which I'm a big Aggie fan. He's from Wichita, Texas. And I think he's just a phenomenal wrestler.
That's cool.
There was a bunch of times that I would put my brothers in a submission move and they would start crying for mom instead of just tapping out, which is all I wanted was them to tap out. They just started screaming for mom, and then when I would let go because I was afraid of my mom, and then they would pop up and say, "See, I never tapped out." Oh, you little
time to punch a dude in the kidney.
That is some straight up wrestling, though. It's like the whole like you're calling in, like waiting for the referee or whatever to get in there, like, "Oh, you didn't get me." They were watching. They knew what was up.
Oh yeah, they knew how to get me. They knew how to get on my nerves.
We would do a lot of the moves we saw. Now this was a long time ago, like way before Hulk Hogan, let me say. But yeah, and we would do. My older brother did the figure 4 on my younger brother, and I don't know if you know that one, but all right, yeah, slapped his legs into it just like this, and then flung himself back. And my little brother screamed. in pain in a way that I have never at that point heard a human being scream. I mean, he was hurt. And if he hadn't been, he was so young basically, but he pulled a tendon in his leg, and he was walking funny for like 3 days. And I mean, we immediately jumped on and put like my hand over his mouth. No, don't. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Come on, you're fine. You're fine.
You're okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Come on, back to me.
You can do it to me. Yep. Unfortunately, they had their TV on too, so I guess they didn't hear us. So they were in the far end of the house. So
my thing when I was a kid, like you're talking about like submission holds and stuff, my favorite thing to do was the pinochle, where you come in and you grab each other's hands. Usually it was the Giant and like Hulk Hogan would do it, where they would like lock hands in the middle, and it was like they were basically trying to like get the other one to like basically kneel before them or whatever. So it was like that whole deal.
It's called a Greco-Roman knuckle lock now.
Yeah, knuckle. Yeah. So that was one of my favorite things to do, because I was typically taller than most of, like, I was taller than my brother for the most part. And he was really the only one that I would wrestle with for the most part, except for friends from time to time. But that was like the move, like get in there and do that and just basically like bring them to their knees. Like you knew once you got them down, it's like, all right, we're good, right? Because the last part of it was that I usually would like crunch up like that. So like you bend their fingers, and like that was like a submission hold on top of it.
Those were fun days when I was a kid, and my entire body didn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
And you healed so fast. I mean, my kids now, I mean, before we started recording, my kids are running back and forth in the basement. There's no running in the house first. So I got my door open. One of them goes running past, and the other one just reaches out with her hand and grabs his heel. And he just goes in the air, crashes on the ground, which is a hardwood. I mean, it's a concrete floor with a vinyl, surface, so very hard. And he's down, and he's just holding it, not even making any sound yet. And I'm like, okay, 1, there's no running in the house. 2, keep yourself to yourself. And 3, I got a podcast tonight, and if I have to go take you to the emergency room, I'm going to Zerbitz you until you cry. And it's basically tickling. So it's like, what are you doing? You know these are all against the rule. But I mean, he was down. And I was seriously considering I might have to take him to the emergency room. And then maybe 2 minutes later, I'm standing there, and he just goes, okay, I'm all right. And it's bruised, it's red and going to turn purple. And he's like, no. And then he's standing and bouncing on it. I'm like, I'd be dead, man.
They're made of rubber.
Dead.
They're made of rubber.
Yeah, my brother was saying that to me the other day. My daughter, we do a walk every day. We were doing it in the afternoon, but now we're doing it in the morning because it's too hot in the afternoon. So we were walking back from going like around the block kind of thing. We walk our dog, and my wife and my daughter and I, and we go a little further every day because I'm a big guy. I'm trying to not be as big. So, we get up and walk every day. And my daughter fell and skinned her knee. And I sent a picture to my brother, and he said, see, if that had been me, there's a 60% chance I'd have needed surgery.
Yep.
Oh, shoot.
From then on, you'd have a good knee, but only one.
Like Carl Wilkie in his new knee. Well, so here's the deal. Like, you made it to the first HomeDadCon for yourself, Cincinnati, I believe, right? That was the first one you got to go to. So, in which
what I've been to so far.
Okay, and at that one, like it was it was great to reconnect with you, because the last time I got to see you was at Dad 2.0 at that time. But I think the funniest thing about interacting with you was on Friday and Saturday night. At the ends of each of those nights being in the beer share. It's the first night, like Eric Schorberg, he's just a bad influence. Like, let's just put it out there. I mean, he really is. Like, he's a pusher and a dealer of beer. Like, it's his job or something when he's there. But it was just funny because I remember sitting beside you, and you were just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, this doesn't really hit me like, hard or anything. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then Saturday,
takes a lot to get me drunk.
Yeah, that's what it was. It takes a lot to get you drunk. That's what you said. And I was like, oh, okay, I get that. And then Saturday rolls around, and I come walking back in after the football game, and your pupils were as big as golf balls. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is Jeremy feeling real good.
It's Eric's. I'm going to Eric. I've blamed Eric ever since, and I'm going to do it again.
I don't see why not.
He is a master at peer pressure. And literally, there was not a single moment that night that I had an empty beer in my hand.
He's a good friend. That's what he is. He's a good friend.
He's a great friend.
He is a great
friend. I will say, out of all of the guys that I have met in this journey as being a stay-at-home dad and going on 6 years as part of this community, I would put Eric in the top 5 best guys that I've met during that time period.
He's a good dude, that's for sure. Yep. I would agree with that. So getting to hang out with you in Cincinnati was awesome. And then, unfortunately things didn't work out for last year, but this year
I just bought a house.
So I know you moved and everything. Yeah. Which puts you in a better position for being closer to the convention this year anyways. So it all worked out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. and Phoenix is just, I regret not being able to make it, but it is what it is. Like I said, I just bought a house, so we were still kind of getting settled in, and taking that time off just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah. Then that happens.
I'm really looking forward to this year because I need my guys.
Right. And that's the thing that, we all, I feel like, yearn for, especially when it comes to HomeDadCon. It's been fun though, like some of the dads have been going on little road trips and stuff and like meeting up in different ways. And I know that you and I got to hang out with Grady a few weeks ago. And from what I understand from talking to Charlie today, that he's about to head up and kind of do the northern section of things. And Danny, will you get to see him? Is he coming your way too?
No. Brady's mad at me, so we're fine.
Okay. Well, so he's gonna go see Charlie and I believe Eric and Paul, if I'm not mistaken. So he's gonna take a little trip up there. Yeah.
Yep. Gonna go see Paul. About an hour away from me at most. Yeah,
you could just drive over and see him. Just crash the party, man.
No, I can't though. I have 4 kids. I cannot.
It's a whole production trying to go do something.
It is. Just leaving that. It's really funny. It's really funny because it's so easy now because I'm in management. My kids really are taking care of themselves in so many ways, but the opportunities to actually leave it, there's just everything would just fall apart. And I'm not saying like I'm the linchpin, I'm so important, but just there's so many things we have going on for the summer. One of them is taking driving lessons. 2 of them are in camp. 2 of them are going to the gym every day with me. And it's just like, oh, okay. So yeah.
That's a heavy schedule, man. That's a heavy schedule for sure. I can understand that.
It's the summer you want. It's the memories you want for summer.
That makes me feel even more honored about last year with you taking the time to come see us for my birthday last year, because some of the guys know, but not everybody. Last summer, I actually did take a couple of days and went up to stay with Eric, and a bunch of dads came and hung out with us, and we went to an arcade, and I got a tattoo, and we went to see a belly dancer at a restaurant, and just had a great time for the whole weekend. I would love to see it. We've talked about this a couple times about doing like little mini dad cons where guys who live relatively close to each other can take a weekend, and it can be 6 months off of actual HomeDadCon, and just get together and just have some community, as opposed to the convention, which is very much professional development. This would just be a chance for everybody to really just hang out and get to know some of the dads who live in their part of the country.
Yeah. I love that idea. And I spend a lot of time on like Vrbo and Airbnb, like looking around for large cabins, like with ponds where, you could invite like 10 or 20 guys to come for a couple of days and just hang out, whatever, and just have a good time there, and, not have to go anywhere. Like, we can bring food in, have a grill there, like do some fishing and whatnot, and just have a good old time. So I love that idea.
I mean, I'm only 6 hours from you, so if that happens, it's only a 6 hour drive.
Oh, don't worry. You will know for sure. Actually, I'm going to try to go more. I'm trying to do one where I go more your direction anyways, so that, Danny and Eric and Paul and guys in the Chicago, like, there's a nice conglomerate of guys like right there. So if you get into the like Illinois, even Iowa area, like that
Des Moines.
I was looking at Des Moines actually at one time. So if that's the case, I'm calling up my buddy Tony Conrad to see what he can do.
Oh, I love Tony.
Yeah. So yeah, so that would be a definite for there. But I definitely like the idea of like a mini con, or just even just like, just this retreat type deal where you get the dads together to hang out. So but along with that, this year you get to come to Milwaukee. You get to be around all of us guys that, we didn't get to be around you last year. But on top of that, you have been chosen to be a speaker this year, which Danny and I both are super proud and very like just happy that you got picked to be able to talk about your topic. And so your topic is things we are scared to share, and it's opening up about miscarriage and pregnancy loss. And I think that a lot of guys are going to have some tears. I know I'm going to have some Kleenexes with me because it speaks right to things that I've gone through. But just you don't have to give everything away, but tell us a little bit of like what drew you to talk about this, and I'm just going to see where it goes from there.
Okay, well, first I blame you.
Oh, awesome. I love it. This is two people in a row who are pointing at me every time I give them the mic like this.
Well, and it's because at Cincinnati, we were talking, and I don't remember what we were talking about. And I just mentioned that I was also a public speaker, like was a trained public speaker for Toastmasters. And you said to me, well, then why aren't you talking? Why aren't you doing a session?
That's right. I did challenge you on that.
Ever since then, I started working on it, and this is my opportunity to do it. But to answer your question as to what led me to this, my wife and I lost our first child. We lost our son before we had our daughter, and we were looking for creative ways to kind of deal with that pain. And I'll be talking about the importance of that, of figuring out some creative way to process what you're going through, to process the grief and the emotions that you're feeling. And at the time, we were in Toastmasters, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with Toastmasters. It's a public speaking training organization. And we gave a joint speech. And in fact, most of what I'll be talking about is kind of expounding on that, because I've had a couple of years to look back at it, and because this was all 7 years ago. And when we gave the speech originally was almost exactly 1 year after we lost our child. It was like a day off, and it was our announcement that we were pregnant with a Vivian, just in 12 weeks at that point in time. So it was kind of our way of telling our friends and family, because we invited a bunch of our friends to come to that Toastmasters meeting, and my mom was there, and kind of our chance at the very end to say that there is some hope, that whenever you're going through that kind of thing, because it's just about the worst thing that a couple can go through. And I want to help other people who are going through it, because I think that's the biggest problem. I think in our society, we don't talk about it. And so we don't realize that there are people in our circle who have been there, and can help us through it. And then we don't realize later on that there's somebody in our circle who's going through it now and could benefit from you. And I want to fix that if at all possible. Yep.
Because like you said, just grief in general is very difficult for people to talk about it. I mean, someone says, for us, my dad died. And you say what you say. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, condolences and all that. But really, you don't know how to address that. We don't have any real training in grief. No one talks about it because it's awful until it hits you. And then you have to try to pick up the pieces and move on with your life. But like you said, losing a child it's got to be the greatest pain I can imagine. And so then you even more so don't have the ability to talk about it. You don't have to talk about it if anybody does, especially your baby. You lost your baby and you're done. I mean, I was wrecked. And Marty and I both were just torn apart, but we let people know because we'd already said, that we were, that she was pregnant. But no one really knew how to respond to it. Like you said, it's something you're kind of like, and then we don't know how to talk and we don't know how to reach out.
We don't talk about it because we don't talk about it. It's a taboo subject, but it doesn't have to be. It's only a taboo subject because we've made it one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a tattoo for my son that we lost. And I remember when I went to go get that, I went to like 10 different shops because I had an idea of what I wanted. And I, for the guys who are listening to this, or for people who are listening to this, sorry, that are tattoo people, I had read an article that talked about the etiquette of getting a tattoo. And one of them was, don't just show up and say, I just want a tattoo. Have an idea of what you want. It can be something whimsical or fun, whatever, but have an idea of what you want. Don't just come in with nothing in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But also listen to your artist because they're the expert. That's why you're giving them a couple $100 of your money because they're the expert.
Yep.
And I went to like 10 different shops with an idea, and all of them, the first 9 just said, oh, sure, $150, come on in, sit down. And they were just going to just do exactly what I had said my idea was. But that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something a little more personal because this was obviously a very personal thing. And the last shop I went into, the guy was working on a big back piece for somebody and was talking to me while he was working. And I gave him my idea. And he said, okay, well, we're going to take a break here in a minute. Go over there to where the books are, look at some art. I'm going to come over and ask you a couple of questions here in a minute. And he came over a few minutes later and he said, you're talking about putting baby footprints on your arm, but you don't have a baby. So you're going to have a lot of people who are going to ask questions, and this is something you're going to have to talk about. And I told him, well, yeah, that's our idea is we want people to talk about this more. We think that we're doing ourselves a big disservice by not doing that. And he said, okay, have you thought of any other artistic, creative way to express this pain that you're feeling that's not something permanent that you might regret later? And I said, well, yeah, we're members of Toastmasters, and we explained what that was to him, and that we were working on a speech for it. And he said, okay, I just want to make sure that going in, this is not something that you're doing in a moment of grief and pain that you're going to regret later, and I don't want to be a part of something that somebody regrets.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, from now on, dude, you're my guy. And I didn't go to anybody else when I lived in Austin except him, because he knew how important this was, and he knew how personal it was, and he wanted to make sure that he honored that.
That's
and I
awesome.
think that's something that is missing is, like you said, Denny, we don't know how to talk about it. We don't know what to say, but having that kind of creative way to help process this grief is a big part of it. And I think that that's something that I'm hoping that there will be some guys there at DadCon who will take that away from what I'm going to say.
And are you planning on leaving time for other people to express themselves in it?
Yeah, especially because it's a long session, and I don't want to hog the entire time. I want to give guys that space if they want, and I don't know how many will want to. You told me when you and I were discussing this when you came to visit me a couple months ago, and I told you that I was going to do kind of a show of hands, that you think a lot of the guys will have more to say than I'm thinking, and I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping that a lot of them will be more open about it.
Yeah. I'm right in that same boat with you as far as getting like a tattoo to just have a way to remember the loss of our first child. And we were going to name her Rose. And so when I was sitting in the chair and I was getting Hezekiah, my firstborn's feet tattooed over my heart, the guy we talked through everything, and I was like, I really want this to be very detailed. And so he did an amazing job on it. And while talking with him, explaining to him like why this was important to me, and then also too talking about the loss of our daughter and that, and he was just like, if you're willing, I would love to let you pick out like something to be able to do some sort of like tribute tattoo to go along with what you have that I'm putting on you right now. And I was like, honestly, like I would love like just a rose, like a really like really pretty rose that's, you know, in bloom, but also like the little footprints. And he was like, oh yeah, I can definitely do that. And so that's what I have actually on my right pec is his footprints from when he was born, and then this rose and these two little footprints on there as well. And it just came out so well. It looks so nice. And I, from time to time, when I do have my t-shirt off, a lot of times people are like, oh, like, why do you have that the little set of footprints or whatever? And it always strikes up a conversation. And my wife was actually in the tattoo studio when it was being done and everything. And Hezekiah was super little at the time, so he was pretty much asleep in the carriage or whatever. But yeah, just having that is something that when we were there, I really hadn't thought about it, honestly. I kind of didn't want to have something that I kept, and then after talking it through and everything, I was like, no, I want something to go along with that, to show that, you know, we lost this love that we never got to really fully love. Mm-hmm. And that's for us, that's you know, been a great talking point. So I completely understand like trying to find that way to be able to share your story with others, to help them to be able to feel comfortable and opening up and being vulnerable about the hurt they've been feeling.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes it does take somebody saying, okay, I'll go first. Mm-hmm. And, you know, kind of breaking that seal. And hopefully there will be guys there that weren't maybe comfortable telling it beforehand, but will be a little bit more likely to tell their story now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, it takes one person. That's true with all things like this, grief, mental health, anything like that. We found that it just takes one person to be vulnerable. And especially if it's, and everybody that knows you, right? You are larger than life. I know you're a big fella, but you're also larger than life. And you're, by extension of that, just who you are physically comes out in your voice and when you're speaking and singing and things like that. So people are kind of watching what you do, especially people that aren't as big or as loud, let's say, and they're looking for other people to kind of, you know, forge the path, whether that person wants to or not. It's just kind of a natural thing. Well, you're bigger than me, so I'm going to watch you and see what you do. You know, we're talking about brotherhood and stuff like that earlier, but that one person to step forward, and especially when it's a person that we know is strong and that we admire, and that person stands in front of us and is vulnerable and shows us, yeah, this is, you know, and says, I might cry a little. And it's not a joke. It's not, you know, somebody cutting onions in here. It's nothing demeaning even like that. It's just simply the purity of your heart and saying, yeah, this hurt a lot and it still hurts. How are you feeling? You know, and opening that up to the room or to people that are there so they understand that, yeah, this is okay. I can tell you, yeah, that hurt a lot. That hurt more than I thought anything could hurt me. And yeah, I hope you get a lot of that.
I think too, like there's a lot of guys, it's a stigma, I guess you would say, where there are a lot of guys who they're like, I don't know how to talk about it. Or do I even have a right to talk about it? Like it, you know, yes, it was my kid, but my wife or my partner or whatever, mm-hmm. they're the ones that went through the physical trauma of the loss. I was just beside them. And it's like, mm-hmm. but you're connected. Like when it's a pregnancy, like it's a, you know, it's all in one. Like you are there, you're supporting, you're along the side. Like you may not go through a physical change in that way. You're going to go through a mental change. Like, and mental changes are just as strong.
I addressed the fact that a lot of guys I don't know that a lot of guys, but that's part of the reason why we don't talk about this is because because some people think that it's not my place to talk about it.
I would use the word a lot. I think that I get it. Like, we're in a situation where we're kind of in this bubble as a stay-at-home dads and especially if you got a HomeDadCon where you understand how to communicate, not hold things back, like be able to have conversations about tough things. The majority of the population, though, they're in that a lot where they don't know how to function in that way. And so I think that saying, a lot of dads that have gone through that do not know how to process it. And most of them have never processed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that, I know it sounds corny, but it is what it is. Like I said, we're oftentimes, as the guys in this group tend to be at least a little better in touch with ourselves, in touch with our feelings. But I'm hoping that there can be some healing that starts with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. I love the fact that you're going to attack this from the main stage. Back in Milwaukee, there was a couple of us that did it from a breakout session, and honestly, like, more guys showed up to that breakout session than I thought would walk through that door, honestly. And
I'm doing this on the main stage.
Nope.
No, sorry.
I'm going to say no. I'm doing a breakout. Yeah.
Or you're doing a breakout. Sorry, my bad. I looked at that the wrong way.
Don't put any more pressure on me.
Sorry, that's what I get right there. I didn't read that correctly. My bad. But anyway, regardless of that, I think you will be both pleasantly and also just surprised in just the amount of guys that come through the door and sit down and want to hear what you have to say, and also to just want to share or get things out that they felt like they couldn't otherwise, or felt guilty to even say. Because I think that's a big part of it too, whereas a lot of times is that, like, don't be woe is me or woe towards me type of thing because I didn't physically agree with it. And it's like, like, did you know? Like, so yeah.
Your child passed away. There's no reason why you can't be destroyed by that. I mean, it makes, even if it was, yes, you never actually met that child, but that was your child. So,
well, and especially like if you've gone through the struggles with infertility that a lot of families go through, even prior to that, like if you've been trying for a long time, and you finally get this feeling of relief, like, okay, we're going to have our child finally, and then the worst thing happens.
Yeah.
And that's a big struggle.
Or if it's a big gut punch.
Child, like Brock, you said your daughter was going to be Rose. My son, his nickname was going to be Jag, because his initials were going to be John. His name was going to be John Allen Gregory Haston, so JAG Haston, and we named him after 5 very, very important people in our lives. My grandfather, who was, as you two know, very, very important to me, and who passed away just last November, whose name was John. My wife had a father figure in her life also named John. And then her best friend's name is Alan, and her mom's name is Joan Ellen. So we kind of thought John Allen and Joan Ellen were close enough. And then my stepfather, Greg. Very important people that we were trying to honor. And then losing him felt almost like losing the ones of those who had already left, felt almost like losing them again, like losing my stepdad, Greg, who died 20 years ago. And sorry, I don't know why I said sorry. I'm not going to apologize for being upset and crying. Not in front of you two, at least.
Yeah, not in front of me.
I know that if he's going to understand.
It's all good. Yeah, we totally understand.
I got my walls up. I'm not crying tonight. I told myself that, so I'm fine. But I would normally be like, yeah, man. Yeah, but I ain't going to do it tonight. But to be serious for a minute, too, one of the things we talk about with the convention is how it's a career development thing. It's a career development conference convention. And I really think that people need to understand that a part of being a parent is the emotional side. Because, a lot of men it still surprises me to meet, millennials that are like, no, I don't have any emotions. What? Why not? Come on, they're there. But it's very important to understand that when we have big things like this, to be able to talk about it, to find someone to lean on, to find your support network, do those things, take those steps to process that. Because then, one, you know how that you've gotten that out and you're good, but two, you know how so that you can tell other people. And you mentioned other fathers that might go through it. It's always amazing when we hear someone that can understand our story in that way, but also our children, to be able to teach our children, look, this is what grief feels like. This is what grief looks like. This is what losing your child might be like. And also, I have emotions, you have emotions, and we learn to process them. It's definitely right in line with being career development as a parent, is that ability to understand these hard things, hard emotional things, and deal with them.
Our kids actually, they know about Rose. We've told them
Vivian knows about.
Yeah, so we've told them the whole story, and it's so funny because those two treat her as if they knew her, the way that they will bring her up in conversation, whether it be where they're talking to me and Corey, or if it's just the two of them. They will bring up like, oh, like, wouldn't it have been so cool to have done these things, or would she have liked this? Like, they just, all this different stuff. And then it's like, it's what I feel like we wanted, but it's like, it's got to be done in a way where it just kind of happens. You can't force that out. And it's just this idea of, there are a lot of times where people ask us like, how many kids do you have? And we're like, 3, one of which we will meet in heaven. Straight and simple. And people are, and then that always starts a conversation too. But yeah, it's great to hear them just bring her into conversation from time to time. And so that's, I can't be more proud about that. No, you're fine.
Vivian, we've been through a lot of loss lately in my family. And my daughter is 6, and she's kind of at that age where she, until recently, didn't really know what death meant. I don't think, until, as I mentioned earlier, my grandfather died in November, and then my dad died in January. And so she's been around it a lot more lately. And so now she'll have times where she just randomly says, I miss my brother. And I wish I could play with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's tough.
Me too, V. Me too.
I'm curious, just to kind of turn the page on things a little bit, which one, I really appreciate you sharing all what you're talking about, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it. I'm hoping I can make it in there actually for that breakout. So you're a part of the Toastmasters, and is that like
I was
or what? Okay, but still, what I'm curious of is this: we have the infamous Jonathan Heisey Grove, JHG, who is about to finish up his presidency. And I'm curious, is Toastmaster like Roastmaster? Like, would you be a guy that could
you're gonna ask Jeremy if he could roast JHG? Come on. One, yes, he can, but 2, I don't think he would. Am I right?
I for sure won't. And I'll tell you, a big part of it is because even though I feel like I'm pretty involved in the national organization, I don't know JHG very well. And because like Cincinnati would have been my first chance to meet him, and he wasn't able to be there. So
that's right. That's right.
I don't think I've ever actually met the guy in real life.
Sorry. To me, I'm like a Friday night at the dinner. I'm like, like we need to get some guys up and roast him just as a going away
set
thing.
Set that up, Brock. You should absolutely set that up.
Yes. Have the best time. Just go for it.
There's plenty of us that know him.
I'm sure there will be some people who will say some stuff, but I'm not going to be one of them.
I couldn't either. He's so kind.
Oh, you can find something in all that kindness. So
kind. Yeah, but he and I don't have that relationship. We've never been to that point where we make fun of each other. He's not like, I don't know how to put this. He's part of the family, but it's kind of like, I don't know where I'd place him, but it's definitely not somebody I would make fun of, and I'm sure he would be fine with it, let me say. But I I don't have any ammunition on the guy. I would have to be like, yeah, that's right. JHG was really good at what he did and should not leave. And crap, I got somebody else. So,
all right,
yeah, set it up. I would laugh for sure.
JHG, if you're listening, and I hope you are, I just want you to know Danny and I are not part of this.
Oh man, I have just put myself in front of the bullseye at this point. Okay.
Oh no, I'm sure there's people that will help you though.
Oh, I'm sure there are too. For definitely,
There's bound to be a lot of guys who know him real well.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of them.
All right, well, fine. Hey, how about this? What are you looking forward to doing when you come to Milwaukee?
Well, there's a few guys that weren't at Cincinnati, and again, I wasn't at Phoenix, that I've been wanting to meet for a long time. Like for years, I've been wanting to meet some of these guys in person. And some of you I've had the privilege of doing that with, but there's a couple of guys like Arvis that I want to see just how tall he really is.
Oh my gosh. You ain't ready for that.
Oh my God. I'm tall. I'm almost 6'2", but I'm nowhere close to as tall as he is. Yeah. And then there's some other people like Micah Adams who I've been wanting to meet for about 5 years, and it's just never worked out. And I think that's always the best part of DadCon for me.
Yeah,
is I've never been the kind of person who had a whole lot of quote unquote real life friends. Like a lot of the guys that I've known through the Stay at Home Dad Facebook groups are closer to me than anybody in my real life. And some of them I've never actually met in person. That's one of my favorite parts.
I will say for me, like, yeah, definitely meeting guys is a big thing. Like I always like meeting the scholarship guys that come in, especially the first timers. Those guys are just so much fun. Like they've had like some of those guys have had zero contact with anybody really. And so they come in and it's like, you just see them. They're like a little kid on Christmas morning. They're like, wow, this is a lot, but I'm super excited to be here kind of deal. And,
well, and that's the way it was, because I was at Cincinnati, I was a scholarship. And fortunately, some of you I had known, I had met at Dad 2 a couple of years back.
Right.
But most of the guys I'd never met in real life.
Yeah, and we had the Dad Lounge going, so that was kind of the only other way to really connect with anybody at that time too. Right. So yeah,
which is fantastic. By the way, I know that there's a couple guys who are leading a session on the importance of the Dad Lounge, and I'm really hoping that one's not at the same time as mine, because I think that's a huge benefit, and I want everybody to get a chance to see that.
Yeah,
and to see how important, if you haven't been. For anybody who's listening to this, if you have never signed on to the Dad Lounge, it is the highlight of my week, most weeks. You know, getting a chance to sit down and kind of lock myself in my office. And I've got a little fridge full of beer right behind me in my office. And just talk. And just, you know, as I said earlier, I've gone through a whole lot of trauma in the last year. And if it wasn't for the Dad Lounge, I don't know how I would have handled half of what I've had to handle.
Well said. Hey, Jeremy, we are up against the wall on time. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us a little bit of yourself and what you're going to be presenting on. And, you know, the countdown is getting smaller and smaller, and we're within 60 days at this point when this gets published. So, so it's going to be... It's coming too, so it's gonna get real exciting real quick with everything that's gonna be coming out. So, but I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show, and I really appreciate you sharing all of the information that you shared tonight and that you're going to be sharing with us in Milwaukee. So, thanks again, and we will see you in a few weeks, buddy.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night. I love both of you very, very much, and I will look forward to my hugs.
There you go. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.